Hello there and welcome. I'm so glad you're here with me tonight. Right now, wherever you are, I want you to know that this is your time. A time to let go of everything that happened today. A time to stop thinking about tomorrow. This moment belongs only to you and the quiet space you are creating around yourself. Tonight we are going on a journey together. We are travelling back in time, not just a few years or even a few centuries. We are going much further than that. We are going to step into a world that existed millions of years before humans ever walked this earth. A world so different from ours that it might feel like visiting another planet entirely. And then, in what felt like an instant in the story of our planet, they were gone. But they left behind traces, bones buried deep in stone, footprints pressed into mud that turned to rock, feathers trapped in gold and amber, and of course the birds that sing outside our windows every morning. Because birds are dinosaurs, they carry that ancient bloodline forward into our modern world. Tonight we're going to walk beside these creatures. We will learn their secrets. We will discover how they lived, how they moved, what they ate, and how they cared for their young. We will see colours and hear sounds that have been silent for millions of years. And we will remember that this earth has always been a place of wonder. Now, let the stories begin. Let them carry you gently backward through time into a world where giants walked and the earth belonged to the dinosaurs. Fact 1. Dinosaurs were not actually lizards. The word dinosaur comes from two ancient Greek words. Dinosos means terrible, and sauros means lizard, so when you put them together, you get terrible lizard. But here is something interesting. Dinosaurs were not actually lizards at all. When scientists first discovered their bones back in the middle of the 1800s, they did not understand just how special these creatures were. They looked at the massive skeletons and thought they must be giant versions of the lizards and reptiles that still lived on Earth, so they gave them this name that stuck forever. But as more fossils were found and studied, scientists realized something important. Dinosaurs were completely different from lizards. The way their legs attached to their bodies was different. Lizards have legs that stick out to the sides, but dinosaurs had legs that went straight down underneath them, just like mammals and birds. This gave them a much stronger and more efficient way of moving. They could walk and run for long distances without getting tired as quickly. Their breathing systems were different too, and even the way they grew from babies to adults was not like lizards at all. In fact, dinosaurs are much more closely related to modern birds than they are to any reptile alive today. So every time you see a bird, remember that you are actually looking at a living relative of the dinosaurs. The name terrible lizard stayed with us, but the truth is far more fascinating than anyone first imagined. Fact 2. Dinosaurs ruled Earth for over 160 million years. It is almost impossible for our minds to truly understand how long dinosaurs existed on this planet. Humans have only been around for a few 100,000 years, and if you think about recorded history, the part where we started writing things down and keeping track of events, that only goes back about 5,000 or 6,000 years. That feels like a long time to us, but compared to dinosaurs it is barely a blink. Dinosaurs walked this earth for more than 160 million years. Let that sink in for a moment. During all that time, the continents were moving. They drifted apart and came back together. Mountains rose up from flat ground. Oceans appeared where there was once dry land. The climate changed over and over again. There were times when the whole planet was warm and tropical, even at the North and South Poles. Other times it cooled down and ice began to form in places. Through all of these changes, dinosaurs survived. They adapted. They evolved into new forms. Some species disappeared and new ones took their place. But the dinosaurs as a group kept going. They filled every corner of the earth. They lived in forests and deserts and wetlands and along coastlines. Some even survived in places that had months of total darkness during the winter. The fact that they lasted so long tells us something important. These were not weak or doomed creatures. They were incredibly successful. They were masters of survival, and they only disappeared because of an event so catastrophic that most life on Earth could not withstand it. Compared to them, humans are newcomers. We have only just arrived at the party. Fact 3. Some dinosaurs were smaller than chickens. When you hear the word dinosaur, your mind probably jumps immediately to giant creatures. You picture long necks reaching into the sky, massive jaws filled with teeth, footsteps that shake the ground. And yes, many dinosaurs were exactly like that, but not all of them. In fact, some dinosaurs were incredibly tiny, smaller than the chickens you might see on a farm. Scientists have found fossils of little predators that were only about 2 feet long from nose to tail. Some weighed less than a house cat. These miniature dinosaurs were fast and agile. They had sharp little claws and quick reflexes. Many of them had feathers covering their bodies, which made them look even more like birds. They lived in the trees and bushes, hopping from branch to branch, hunting insects and other small creatures. Some had feathers that shimmered with bright colours, catching the sunlight as they moved. Imagine walking through a prehistoric forest and seeing one of these tiny dinosaurs dart past you. It would look almost like a bird, but not quite. Its movements would be quick and alert, its eyes sharp and intelligent. These small dinosaurs prove something important. Evolution does not always favour the biggest or the strongest. Sometimes the best way to survive is to be small, fast, and clever. These little creatures filled a role in their ecosystems that the giants could never fill. They remind us that the world of dinosaurs was far more diverse and complex than we often imagine. Not everything was a monster. Some were delicate, beautiful, and small enough to fit in the palm of your hand. Fact 4. The largest dinosaurs weighed more than a commercial airplane. Now let us go to the complete opposite end of the scale. While some dinosaurs were tiny, others were so massive that it almost defies belief. The largest dinosaurs ever discovered, the giant long-necked plant-eaters called sauropods, could weigh more than 70 tons. To help you picture that, a fully loaded Boeing 747 airplane weighs about the same amount. Imagine a living creature with that much weight moving across the ground. Not made of metal and engines, but of flesh, bone, and muscle. These enormous animals had to solve problems that no other land creature ever faced. Their hearts had to pump blood all the way up necks that could be 30 or 40 feet long. That meant their hearts were incredibly powerful, working constantly just to keep them alive. Their skeletons had to support all that weight without breaking. To do this, their bones were specially designed. They were not solid like ours. Instead, they had hollow spaces inside filled with air sacs, which made them lighter but still strong. This same design is found in bird bones today, which is another clue that birds and dinosaurs are closely related. These giants had to eat enormous amounts of food every single day just to keep their bodies running. They spent most of their time grazing, moving slowly through forests and plains, stripping leaves from trees and bushes. When they walked, the ground shook. When they called to each other, the sound carried for miles. Standing next to one of these creatures would have been like standing next to a moving building. The largest dinosaurs show us just how far life can push the limits of size and still survive. Fact 5. Some dinosaurs could run faster than Olympic sprinters. Speed was just as important as size in the world of dinosaurs. While the giants moved slowly and carefully, there were other dinosaurs built for pure speed. These were usually smaller meat-eating dinosaurs with long legs, light bodies, and stiff tails that helped them balance as they ran. Scientists believe that some of these fast dinosaurs could reach speeds of over 40 miles per hour. That is faster than the fastest human sprinters in the Olympics. Imagine herds of these sleek dinosaurs racing across open plains. Their legs blur with motion, their tails stream out behind them like ribbons, dust kicks up in clouds as they run. These dinosaurs used speed as their main defense against predators. If something dangerous came near, they did not fight. They just ran. And they ran so fast that very few predators could catch them. Some of these speedy dinosaurs looked a lot like ostriches. They had long necks, small heads, and powerful legs. They probably lived in groups for safety, always alert and ready to bolt at the first sign of danger. Speed gave them an edge in a dangerous world. Just like today, where gazelles and antelopes survive by outrunning lions and cheetahs, these ancient runners stayed alive by being faster than everything else around them. Evolution gave them lightness, strength, and the gift of incredible speed. Fact 6. The tiniest dinosaur eggs were smaller than quail. Eggs. When we think of dinosaur eggs, we might imagine huge round stones sitting in nests. But just like the dinosaurs themselves, their eggs came in all different sizes. Some dinosaur eggs were incredibly small. Scientists have found fossilized eggs from tiny feathered dinosaurs that are no bigger than a marble. They are smaller than the eggs laid by quail, which are among the smallest bird eggs we see today. These miniature eggs tell us that even the mightiest group of animals on Earth started from something fragile and delicate. Picture a small nest hidden in the underbrush of a prehistoric forest. It is lined with soft leaves and moss. Inside are a few tiny speckled eggs, each one holding a baby dinosaur no bigger than your thumb. The mother or father dinosaur guards them carefully, knowing how vulnerable they are. Any number of predators would love to find these eggs. Snakes, lizards, and small mammals all pose a threat. When the eggs finally hatch, the babies that emerge are delicate and helpless. They rely completely on their parents for protection and food. These small eggs are time capsules. They have been preserved in stone for millions of years, and they give us a glimpse into the earliest moments of a dinosaur's life. Even creatures that would one day grow large and powerful began their journey inside something as small and fragile as a pebble. Fact 7. The biggest dinosaur eggs were larger than basketballs. On the other end of the size range, some dinosaur eggs were absolutely enormous. The eggs laid by giant sauropods, the long-necked plant eaters, could be more than a foot long. That makes them bigger than a basketball. Imagine finding a nest filled with these massive eggs half buried in the sand. Each one contains a baby dinosaur that will one day grow into a creature weighing many tons. Even though these eggs were large, they were still quite small compared to the adults that laid them. This means that baby sauropods had a long journey of growth ahead of them. They would hatch as small, vulnerable creatures and spend years growing bigger and bigger until they finally reached their full size. Scientists believe that sauropods laid many eggs at once, sometimes dozens in a single nesting site. This strategy made sense because many of the babies would not survive. Predators would find the nests. Some eggs would not hatch. Some babies would be eaten soon after they emerged. By laying so many eggs, the sauropods increased the chances that at least a few of their young would make it to adulthood. Fossilized nesting grounds show us that these giants returned to the same places year after year to lay their eggs, just like sea turtles do today. These ancient nurseries were busy, noisy places filled with life, danger, and the promise of the next generation. Fact 8. Many dinosaurs had feathers, not scales. For a very long time, people imagined dinosaurs as scaly reptiles with rough, leathery skin. That is how they were shown in books, movies, and museums. But in recent decades, scientists have made discoveries that completely changed this picture. Many dinosaurs, especially the smaller meat-eaters, were covered in feathers. Not just a few feathers here and there, but full coats of soft, fluffy down or long, sleek plumes. These feathers were not always used for flying. Some dinosaurs had feathers to keep warm. Others used them to attract mates, showing off bright colours and patterns. Some may have used their feathers to protect their eggs, or to shade their young from the hot sun. Fossils found in China have preserved these feathers in stunning detail. Scientists can see the individual strands, the way they branched and overlapped, and even the tiny structures that once gave them colour. When you imagine a dinosaur now, you should not picture a giant lizard. Instead, picture something that looks much more like a bird. Imagine a predator covered in sleek black feathers with splashes of red and orange, or a small dinosaur with a crest of long, flowing plumes on its head. The world of dinosaurs was not dull and grey. It was vibrant, colourful, and covered in feathers that rustled in the wind. Fact 9. Some feathered dinosaurs shimmered with iridescent colours. Feathers are not just for warmth or flight. They are also perfect for showing off. And some dinosaurs took full advantage of this. Scientists studying fossilized feathers have found tiny structures called melanosomes. These are the same structures that create colour in the feathers of modern birds. By looking at the shape and arrangement of these melanosomes, scientists can figure out what colours the dinosaur feathers once had. The results are amazing. Some dinosaurs had feathers that shimmered with iridescent colours, just like the feathers of hummingbirds, starlings, and peacocks today. Imagine a small dinosaur standing in a patch of sunlight. As it moves, its feathers flash with shades of green, blue, purple, and gold. These dazzling displays were probably used to attract mates or to show dominance over rivals. Just like birds today, dinosaurs may have spent time preening their feathers, keeping them clean and bright. The males may have danced or posed to show off their colours to females. The discovery of these colours reminds us that the prehistoric world was not a dull, lifeless place. It was full of beauty, light, and spectacle. Dinosaurs were not just survivors, they were artists of appearance, painting themselves in the colours of life itself. Fact 10. Tyrannosaurus. Rex could bite harder than any land animal in history. Few dinosaurs are as famous as Tyrannosaurus rex, and for good reason. This massive predator had one of the most powerful bites of any creature that ever lived on land. Scientists have studied its skull and jaw muscles, and they estimate that T-Rex could bite down with a force of over 12,000 pounds. That is strong enough to crush bone into splinters. No other land animal, past or present, has ever had a bite that powerful. The teeth of T-Rex were not thin and blade-like. They were thick, strong, and shaped like bananas with jagged edges. This design made them perfect for gripping and tearing. When T-Rex bit into prey, there was no escape. The bones broke, the flesh ripped. Everything gave way under that crushing pressure. But T-Rex was not just a mindless brute. Evidence suggests it was also intelligent and strategic. It may have ambushed prey, hiding and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. It may have scavenged when it found dead animals, using its powerful jaws to break through thick hides and access meat that other predators could not reach. Whatever it did, one thing is certain. When T-Rex closed its jaws, nothing could withstand the force. It remains the ultimate symbol of predatory power. Fact 11. Stegosaurus. Had a brain, the size of a walnut. Stegosaurus is one of the most recognizable dinosaurs. It had tall bony plates running down its back and a tail armed with long spikes. It looked impressive and dangerous. But despite its size, which could be several tons, Stegosaurus had one of the smallest brains of any dinosaur relative to its body size. Its brain was about the size of a walnut. For a creature that big, that is incredibly small. For many years, scientists were puzzled by this. Some even thought that Stegosaurus might have had a second brain located near its hips to help control its back legs and tail. But that idea has been proven wrong. The truth is that Stegosaurus simply did not need a large brain. It was a plant-eater that lived a slow, steady life. It did not need to plan complicated hunts or solve problems. It just needed to find food, avoid predators, and survive. And it did all of that very successfully for millions of years. This reminds us that intelligence is not the only path to success. Sometimes being big, strong, and well-armoured is enough. Stegosaurus did not need to be smart. It just needed to be tough, and it was. Fact 12. Sauropods grew longer than 3 school buses. The sauropods were the true giants of the dinosaur world. These were the long-necked, long-tailed plant-eaters that could grow to absolutely enormous sizes. Some species, like Diplodocus and Patagotitan, stretched over 100 feet from their nose to the tip of their tail. To help you picture that, imagine 3 full-size school buses parked end to end. That is how long these creatures were. Walking beside one would have been like walking next to a moving wall. Their necks alone could be 30 feet long or more, allowing them to reach high into the trees or sweep across wide areas of ground without moving their massive bodies. Their tails stretched out behind them like living bridges, sometimes used for balance and sometimes possibly used as weapons to whip at predators. Despite their size, sauropods were not slow and clumsy. Their bones were hollow and filled with air, which made them much lighter than you would expect. They moved in herds, travelling together across plains and forests, leaving trails of footprints that we can still find today turned to stone. These giants ruled the earth for millions of years, and their fossils remain some of the most breathtaking discoveries in all of paleontology. Fact 13. Some dinosaurs had up to 1,000 teeth. Teeth are incredibly important for any animal that eats. And some dinosaurs had truly astonishing numbers of them. The hadrosaurs, also called duck-billed dinosaurs, had some of the most complex dental systems ever seen in a reptile. They had hundreds of teeth packed tightly together in their jaws, arranged in rows. Behind each visible tooth, there were replacement teeth waiting to move forward. In total, some hadrosaurs had over 1,000 teeth in their mouths at any given time. These teeth were not meant for biting or tearing, They were designed for grinding. Hadrosaurs ate tough plants like ferns, conifers, and flowering plants. Their teeth worked together like a giant food processor, slicing and crushing the vegetation into a pulp that could be digested. As the teeth at the front wore down, new teeth moved up from below to take their place. This meant the dinosaur never ran out of fresh grinding surfaces. This advanced chewing system helped hadrosaurs become one of the most successful groups of plant-eating dinosaurs. They spread across continents and thrived in many different environments. Their teeth were the key to their success, allowing them to eat foods that other dinosaurs could not process as efficiently. Fact 14. Triceratops' horns could be over 3 feet long. Triceratops is one of the most iconic dinosaurs, and its 3 horns are a big part of why. 2 of those horns grew above its eyes and could reach over 3 feet in length. They were not just for show. Fossil evidence shows scratches, wear marks, and even healed injuries on these horns, which suggests that Triceratops used them actively in combat. They may have fought off predators like Tyrannosaurus rex, or they may have battled with other members of their own species over territory or mates. Imagine 2 male Triceratops facing each other on an open plain. They lower their heads, their horns point forward like spears, then they charge, and the sound of their horns clashing echoes across the landscape like thunder. These battles were probably not always deadly. They may have been ritualized contests, where the loser could back down before being seriously hurt. But the scars on fossilized skulls tell us that sometimes these fights were intense. The horns were also paired with a large bony frill that extended from the back of the skull. Together, the horns and frill made Triceratops look powerful and intimidating. They turned this plant eater into a creature that could defend itself against almost anything. Fact 15. Ankylosaurus had armor so strong. It could resist a T-Rex bite. If Triceratops was armed with horns, then Ankylosaurus was built like a living tank. Its entire body was covered in thick bony plates that were fused into its skin. These plates formed a shield that was incredibly tough. Some scientists believe the armor was strong enough to resist even the bone-crushing bite of a Tyrannosaurus rex. On top of that, Ankylosaurus had rows of spikes along its sides and a massive club at the end of its tail made of solid bone. This tail club was a fearsome weapon. It could weigh several dozen pounds, and when swung with the full force of the dinosaur's muscles, it could deliver a devastating blow. A direct hit to the leg of a predator could shatter bones and leave the attacker crippled. Fossilized Ankylosaurus skeletons sometimes show healed bite marks, which tells us they survived attacks that would have killed less protected animals. These dinosaurs were slow movers, but they did not need speed. They had armor and a weapon. Any predator that tried to attack them was taking a serious risk. In the ancient arms race between hunters and prey, Ankylosaurus stood out as one of the most heavily defended creatures ever to walk the earth. Fact 16. Stegosaurus had a tail armed with sharp spikes. While Ankylosaurus carried a club, Stegosaurus wielded a different kind of weapon. At the end of its tail were 4 long, sharp spikes that could be several feet in length. Scientists even gave this spiked tail a nickname. They call it a thagomizer, a name that actually came from a cartoon but has since been adopted by paleontologists because it is catchy and fun to say. Stegosaurus could swing this tail in wide, powerful arcs. The spikes would cut through the air like spears. Any predator that got too close risked being impaled. Fossil evidence shows that these spikes were sometimes broken or damaged, proof that they were used in real combat. Imagine a hungry Allosaurus approaching a Stegosaurus from behind. The plant eater senses the danger. It turns its body and swings its tail with all its strength. The spikes connect, and the predator retreats, injured and bleeding. Despite its small brain, Stegosaurus knew how to defend itself. Its spiked tail made it a dangerous target, even for the fiercest hunters of the Jurassic period. Fact 17. Velociraptor was only about the size of a turkey. Thanks to movies, many people imagine velociraptors as large, terrifying predators that hunt in packs. But the real velociraptor was much smaller than that. It was about the size of a turkey, weighing maybe 15 to 20 pounds. It was covered in feathers, not scales, and it looked much more like a bird than a giant reptile. But do not let the small size fool you. Velociraptor was still a dangerous predator. It had sharp teeth, strong jaws, and most importantly a sickle-shaped claw on each of its hind feet. This claw was razor-sharp and could slash into prey with deadly precision. Fossil evidence even shows one velociraptor locked in combat with another dinosaur called Protoceratops. Both creatures were buried together, frozen in the middle of their battle for millions of years. Velociraptors were fast, agile, and intelligent. They used their speed and their claws to hunt small animals, birds, and reptiles. Though they were small, they were perfectly designed for their role in the ecosystem. They remind us that being deadly is not about size. It is about being fast, sharp, and smart. Fact 18. Some dinosaurs had hollow bones like modern birds. One of the secrets to how dinosaurs grew so large or moved so quickly was the design of their bones. Many dinosaurs had hollow bones. This does not mean their bones were weak. In fact, they were incredibly strong. But instead of being solid all the way through like human bones, dinosaur bones had empty spaces inside. These spaces were filled with air sacs connected to their lungs. This design had several advantages. First, it made the bones much lighter, which reduced the overall weight of the dinosaur. This was especially important for giant sauropods, whose bodies would have been impossibly heavy if their bones were solid. Second, the air sacs helped with breathing. They allowed air to flow through the body more efficiently, giving the dinosaur more oxygen with each breath. Modern birds have the exact same system. Their bones are hollow and connected to air sacs. This is one of the many pieces of evidence that show how closely related birds and dinosaurs really are. The bones of dinosaurs were not just bones, they were engineering marvels, combining strength with lightness in a way that allowed these creatures to thrive for millions of years. Fact 19. Birds are technically living dinosaurs. Here is one of the most amazing facts about dinosaurs. They are not actually extinct, at least not completely. Every single bird alive today, from the smallest hummingbird to the largest ostrich, is a direct descendant of theropod dinosaurs. That means birds are living dinosaurs. This is not just a metaphor or a fun way of thinking about it. It is scientific fact. The connection is written into their bodies. Birds have feathers, just like many dinosaurs did. They have hollow bones. They lay eggs. They have a wishbone, which is a bone that evolved in dinosaurs and is still present in birds today. Even the way birds move, the way they balance on two legs, and the way they care for their young can all be traced back to their dinosaur ancestors. When the asteroid struck Earth 66 million years ago and wiped out most of the dinosaurs, a small group of feathered theropods survived. Over millions of years, they evolved into the thousands of bird species we see today. So the next time you see a sparrow hopping on the ground or an eagle soaring through the sky, remember that you are looking at a dinosaur. The age of dinosaurs never truly ended. It just transformed and took flight. Fact 20. Archaeopteryx was the first known bird-like dinosaur. In the 1860s, a fossil was discovered in Germany that amazed scientists. It was called Archaeopteryx, and it seemed to be something between a dinosaur and a bird. It had teeth, claws, and a long bony tail like a dinosaur. But it also had feathers and wings like a bird. It was a perfect example of a transitional creature, showing how one type of animal can slowly evolve into another over millions of years. Archaeopteryx probably could not fly the way modern birds do. It may have glided from tree to tree or flapped its wings in short bursts to escape predators. Its feathers were well developed, with clear patterns that show they were used for more than just warmth. They may have helped with balance, display, or even courtship. For many years, Archaeopteryx was considered the earliest known bird. Even though scientists have since discovered other bird-like dinosaurs that are even older, Archaeopteryx remains one of the most important fossils ever found. It gives us a snapshot of evolution in action, a moment frozen in stone where we can see the transformation happening before our eyes. Fact 21. Many dinosaurs were warm-blooded. For a long time, people thought dinosaurs were cold-blooded like modern lizards and snakes. Cold-blooded animals rely on the sun to warm their bodies. They move slowly in the morning and become more active as the day heats up. But new evidence suggests that many dinosaurs were actually warm-blooded. This means they could regulate their own body temperature from the inside, just like mammals and birds do. Scientists found clues by studying the structure of dinosaur bones. Growth rings in the bones show that many dinosaurs grew quickly and steadily, which is something warm-blooded animals do. Cold-blooded animals grow in bursts, speeding up in warm weather and slowing down in the cold. Dinosaurs also had feathers and active lifestyles, both of which are signs of warm-bloodedness. Being warm-blooded would have given dinosaurs many advantages. They could stay active at night or in cooler climates. They could hunt or migrate over long distances without needing to stop and warm up in the sun. This discovery completely changes how we imagine the prehistoric world. Instead of sluggish reptiles basking on rocks, we now picture dynamic, energetic creatures moving constantly through forests and plains. Fact 22. Some dinosaurs had built-in air sacs to breathe. More efficiently breathing is something we do without thinking about it. But for a dinosaur, especially a giant one, breathing efficiently was a matter of survival. Many dinosaurs had a special breathing system that included air sacs. These were balloon-like structures connected to their lungs. When the dinosaur breathed in, air flowed into the lungs and then into the air sacs. When it breathed out, the air flowed back through the lungs again. This meant that fresh oxygen was always moving through the lungs, even when the dinosaur was exhaling. This system is incredibly efficient, and modern birds use the exact same design. It allows birds to fly at high altitudes where the air is thin, and it allowed dinosaurs to support their massive bodies or stay active for long periods of time. Fossils show hollow spaces in the bones where these air sacs once were. For giant sauropods, this system was essential. Their bodies were so large that a normal breathing system would not have been able to supply enough oxygen. The air sacs gave them the respiratory power they needed to thrive. It is another example of how perfectly designed dinosaurs were for their world. Fact 23. Diplodocus could whip its tail at the speed of sound. The tails of sauropods were not just for balance. In some cases, they may have been used as weapons. The Diplodocus had an incredibly long tail that tapered down to a thin, flexible tip. Some scientists believe that this tail could be snapped like a whip, with enough force to break the sound barrier. If this is true, it would have created a loud cracking noise, like a small sonic boom. Imagine herds of Diplodocus moving across open plains. If a predator approached, one of them might swing its tail through the air. The crack of the tail breaking the sound barrier would echo across the landscape, startling the predator and warning the rest of the herd. Whether this was used for defense, communication, or even courtship is still debated. But the idea that a dinosaur could produce one of the loudest sounds ever made by a land animal is absolutely fascinating. Even if not every scientist agrees, the anatomy of the Diplodocus tail shows that it was built for speed and flexibility. It was more than just a balancing tool. It was a dynamic part of the dinosaur's body, capable of impressive feats. Fact 24. Spinosaurus may have hunted, both on land and in water. Most large predatory dinosaurs stayed on land. But Spinosaurus was different. This dinosaur had a long, crocodile-like snout filled with conical teeth perfect for catching fish. Its bones were dense and heavy, which would have helped it sink and move through water. Its tail was large and paddle-shaped, suggesting it could swim powerfully. All of this evidence points to one conclusion. Spinosaurus may have been the first truly aquatic dinosaur. Imagine a predator longer than Tyrannosaurus rex gliding through a river. It moves silently beneath the surface, its eyes just above the waterline. A fish swims by, and in an instant, Spinosaurus snaps its jaws shut, catching its prey. This dinosaur represents a completely different way of life from other large predators. Instead of chasing prey across the ground, it hunted in rivers and lakes. It may have spent much of its time in the water, only coming onto land to rest or lay eggs. The sail on its back, made of tall spines covered in skin, may have been used for display or to regulate its body temperature. Spinosaurus reminds us that dinosaurs were incredibly diverse. They did not all fit into the same mold. They explored every possible way of living, even venturing into the water. Fact 25. Some dinosaurs could swim. While Spinosaurus was specially adapted for life in the water, many other dinosaurs were also capable of swimming when they needed to. Fossil trackways found in ancient riverbeds show the claw marks of dinosaurs paddling through water. Their footprints appear on the bottom of the riverbed, showing they were pushing off with their legs to propel themselves forward. Even large predators like Tyrannosaurus rex could probably swim if they needed to cross a river or escape danger. Smaller dinosaurs may have been even better swimmers. They could have darted through ponds and lakes chasing fish or escaping from predators. Being able to swim would have been a valuable survival skill in a world where water was everywhere. Rivers, lakes, and floodplains covered much of the landscape, and dinosaurs needed to be able to navigate through them. Far from being clumsy land animals, dinosaurs were versatile and adaptable. They could walk, run, and even swim when the situation called for it. This ability to move through different environments is one of the reasons they were so successful for so long. Fact 26. Some small dinosaurs may have glided between trees like flying squirrels. Not all dinosaurs that took to the air were true flyers. Some small feathered dinosaurs may have glided from tree to tree, much like flying squirrels do today. Fossils of creatures like Microraptor show elongated feathers on both their arms and legs. When spread out, these feathers would have created surfaces that could catch the air. The dinosaur could leap from a high branch, spread its limbs wide, and glide gently down to a lower branch or to the ground. This kind of movement would have been useful for escaping predators or moving quickly through dense forests. Imagine a small dinosaur perched high in a tree. It spots danger below and launches itself into the air. Its feathered limbs spread out like wings, and it glides silently to safety on another tree far away. These gliding dinosaurs were experimenting with flight long before true powered flight evolved in birds. They show us that evolution does not happen all at once. Instead, it takes small steps. First came feathers for warmth, then feathers for display, then feathers for gliding, and finally, feathers for true flight. Each step built on the one before it, creating the amazing diversity of flying creatures we see today. Fact 27. Pterosaurs were not dinosaurs but lived alongside them. When people think about prehistoric flying creatures, they often picture pterosaurs. These were the winged reptiles that soared through the skies during the age of dinosaurs. But here is something important to know. Pterosaurs were not actually dinosaurs. They belonged to a completely different group of reptiles. However, they lived at the same time as dinosaurs and shared the same world. Pterosaurs came in many sizes. Some were as small as sparrows, while others had wingspans that stretched over 30 feet, making them the largest flying animals that ever existed. They had wings made of skin that stretched from their elongated fourth finger all the way down to their bodies. Some pterosaurs had long beaks filled with teeth, perfect for catching fish. Others had short, strong beaks for cracking shells or eating fruit. They filled the skies while dinosaurs ruled the land. Some skimmed the surface of oceans, dipping their beaks into the water to catch fish. Others soared high above the ground, riding wind currents like modern albatrosses. Pterosaurs and dinosaurs lived side by side for over 150 million years. Together, they created a world that was alive with incredible diversity, both on the ground and in the air. Fact 28. Some dinosaurs could lay clutches of dozens of eggs at once. Reproduction was a crucial part of dinosaur survival, and different species had different strategies. Some dinosaurs laid enormous clutches of eggs, sometimes dozens at a time. The giant sauropods, for example, would dig shallow nests in the ground and lay many eggs all at once. This strategy made sense because not all of the babies would survive. Predators would find some nests. Some eggs would not hatch. Some babies would be eaten shortly after they emerged from their shells. By laying many eggs at once, the parents increased the odds that at least a few of their young would live to adulthood. Fossilized nesting sites have been found with hundreds of eggs clustered together, suggesting that entire herds of dinosaurs would return to the same place year after year to lay their eggs. These communal nesting grounds must have been busy, chaotic places, mothers digging nests, eggs being carefully laid and covered, hatchlings breaking free from their shells, and predators lurking nearby, hoping for an easy meal. The strategy of laying many eggs is still used by animals today, from sea turtles to frogs. It is a way of balancing the harsh reality of survival with the hope that some of the next generation will make it through. Fact 29. Baby dinosaurs sometimes stayed in nests for months. Not all dinosaur babies were ready to leave the nest right after hatching. Some species kept their young in the nest for weeks or even months, protecting and feeding them until they were strong enough to venture out on their own. Fossils of hadrosaur nests show tiny bones, of babies that were too young and fragile to have survived on their own. This suggests that the parents stayed nearby, bringing food and guarding the nest from predators. Imagine a mother hadrosaur returning to her nest with a mouthful of fresh plants. Her babies chirp and scramble over each other, eager to eat. She carefully drops the food and they devour it quickly. Meanwhile, the father stands watch nearby, his eyes scanning the horizon for any sign of danger. This kind of parental care is very similar to what we see in modern birds. It shows that dinosaurs were not cold, uncaring creatures. They invested time and energy into raising their young, just like many animals do today. The bond between parent and child is ancient, stretching back millions of years into the age of dinosaurs. These fossil nests give us a glimpse into family life in prehistoric times, a reminder that even the largest and most fearsome creatures once cared tenderly for their babies. Fact 30. Fossilized dinosaur tracks show herds moving together. Sometimes the most revealing fossils are not bones at all but footprints. In many places around the world, scientists have found vast trackways where dozens or even hundreds of dinosaurs walk together in the same direction. These fossilized footprints tell us that many species of dinosaurs traveled in herds, moving as a group for protection and efficiency. The tracks show different patterns. Some dinosaurs walked slowly and steadily, while others moved quickly. In some trackways, the prints of young dinosaurs appear in the center, surrounded by the larger prints of adults. This suggests that the herd protected its most vulnerable members by keeping them in the middle, where they would be safe from predators. Imagine standing on a wide plain millions of years ago. The ground begins to shake. A herd of the sauropods appears on the horizon, moving together like a slow river of giants. Their footsteps press deep into the mud, which later hardens into stone. Today, we can walk along those same paths and see exactly where they went. These trackways are like ancient highways, showing us not just where dinosaurs walked, but how they lived together in complex social groups. Fact 31. Some dinosaurs may have migrated hundreds of miles seasonally. Just like many animals today, some dinosaurs probably migrated long distances to find food and avoid harsh weather. Evidence for this comes from fossil trackways that show dinosaurs moving in large groups in consistent directions. Chemical analysis of fossilized teeth also supports this idea. The teeth contain traces of different types of water, suggesting that the dinosaurs drank from water sources that were hundreds of miles apart at different times of the year. Imagine herds of hadrosaurs beginning their long journey as the seasons change. They move together across plains and through forests, following ancient routes that their ancestors traveled before them. Young dinosaurs walk beside their parents, learning the way. Predators shadow the herd from a distance, hoping to catch any animal that falls behind. The journey is long and dangerous, but it is necessary. When they reach their destination, they find fresh vegetation and safe places to rest. Seasonal migration would have helped dinosaurs survive in a world where climates and food sources change throughout the year. It is a behavior that still happens today in animals like caribou, wildebeest, and even some birds. The instinct to move, to follow the seasons, is one of the oldest survival strategies on Earth. Fact 32. Dinosaurs lived on every continent, even Antarctica. Dinosaurs were not limited to a few regions. They spread across the entire planet. Fossils have been found on every continent, including Antarctica. During the time of the dinosaurs, the continents were not arranged the way they are today. They were joined together or positioned differently, which made it easier for dinosaurs to move from one place to another. As the continents slowly drifted apart, dinosaurs adapted to the new environments they found themselves in. The discovery of dinosaur fossils in Antarctica is especially remarkable. Today, Antarctica is a frozen wasteland covered in ice. But millions of years ago, it was a green, forested land with rivers and a mild climate. Dinosaurs lived there, walking among trees and ferns. This global spread shows just how adaptable dinosaurs were. They thrived in deserts, forests, wetlands, and even near the poles. No matter what kind of environment they encountered, they found ways to survive. From the hottest equatorial regions to the cold darkness of polar winters, dinosaurs left their mark everywhere. They were truly a planetary phenomenon, dominating Earth in a way no other group of land animals ever has. Fact 33. Antarctica once had forests full of dinosaurs. It is hard to imagine Antarctica without ice, but during the age of dinosaurs, the southernmost continent was covered in forests. Fossil evidence shows ancient trees, ferns, and flowering plants. Dinosaur bones have been found buried in the rock, proof that these creatures once walked through lush woodlands, where today there is only frozen emptiness. The climate was much warmer back then. Long summer days brought endless sunlight, helping plants grow thick and green. In the winter, darkness fell for months at a time, but the temperature remained mild enough for life to continue. Sauropods, theropods, and plant-eating dinosaurs all lived in these polar forests. They had to adapt to the unusual light cycles, perhaps growing thick coats of feathers or storing energy to survive the long, dark winters. Imagine standing in an ancient Antarctic forest. Tall conifers rise around you. The air is filled with the calls of dinosaurs. In the distance, a herd moves slowly through the undergrowth, their footsteps crunching on fallen leaves. It is a vision almost impossible to believe, but the fossils tell the truth. Antarctica was once a living, breathing world, home to some of the most remarkable creatures ever to exist. Fact 34. Dinosaurs once lived above the Arctic Circle. Just as dinosaurs lived in Antarctica, they also thrived in the far north. Fossils discovered in Alaska and other Arctic regions show that dinosaurs lived near the North Pole, enduring long winters with little sunlight and freezing temperatures. These polar dinosaurs were among the hardiest creatures of their time. Some species, like certain hadrosaurs, appear to have lived in the Arctic year-round. They did not migrate south when winter came. Instead, they stayed and survived. How did they do it? Scientists believe they may have had thick layers of feathers or fat to keep warm. Their warm-blooded metabolism would have allowed them to stay active even in the cold. They may have huddled together in groups for warmth, much like penguins do today. Imagine a herd of dinosaurs standing in the snow, their breath forming clouds in the frigid air. Above them, the stars shine brightly in a sky that has been dark for weeks. These Arctic dinosaurs prove that dinosaurs were not limited to warm tropical climates. They could survive in almost any environment. Their ability to adapt is one of the reasons they dominated the Earth for so long. Fact 35. Some dinosaurs could survive months of darkness. During polar winters, living near the poles meant facing months of continuous darkness during the winter. Yet some dinosaurs not only survived this, but thrived. Their large eyes suggest they had excellent night vision, allowing them to see even in very low light. Social behaviours, like staying close together in herds, would have provided warmth and protection during the long dark months. Imagine a winter night in the Arctic during the age of dinosaurs. The sun has not risen in over a month. The world is lit only by starlight and the occasional glow of the aurora borealis shimmering in the sky. A herd of feathered dinosaurs moves slowly through a forest, foraging for whatever food they can find. They stay close together, their bodies generating warmth. Predators are out there somewhere, hidden in the darkness, but the herd is vigilant. These dinosaurs had to be tough, resourceful, and patient. They waited out the darkness, knowing that eventually the sun would return. Their survival in such extreme conditions shows the incredible resilience of life. Even in the coldest, darkest places on Earth, dinosaurs found a way to endure. Fact 36. Hadrosaurs are called duck-billed dinosaurs. Among the most distinctive dinosaurs were the hadrosaurs, commonly known as duck-billed dinosaurs. They got this nickname because of their broad, flat snouts that looked somewhat like the bill of a duck. But these bills were not soft like a duck's. They were hard and strong, perfect for cropping plants and stripping leaves from branches. Hadrosaurs were among the most successful plant-eating dinosaurs. They lived in large herds and could be found on almost every continent. Their jaws contained hundreds of tiny teeth arranged in rows, creating a powerful grinding system. They could chew tough vegetation that many other dinosaurs could not digest. Some hadrosaur species also had elaborate crests on their heads. These crests came in many shapes and sizes, and they were often hollow inside. Scientists believe the crests were used to produce sounds, allowing hadrosaurs to communicate with each other across long distances. Imagine a herd of hadrosaurs grazing peacefully. Suddenly one lifts its head and releases a deep resonant call. The sound echoes across the valley, and the rest of the herd responds. These duck-billed dinosaurs were not just survivors, they were sophisticated social animals with complex ways of living together. Fact 37. Some hadrosaurs could make deep resonant calls with hollow crests. The hollow crests found on many hadrosaurs were not just for decoration, they were instruments. Inside the crests were long, winding air passages connected to the dinosaur's nose and throat. When the dinosaur breathed or vocalized, air would flow through these passages, creating deep, booming sounds that could travel for miles. One of the most famous examples is Parasaurolophus, which had a long curved crest that extended backward from its skull. Scientists have used computer models to recreate the sounds this crest might have made. The results are hauntingly beautiful, low-frequency calls that would have resonated through prehistoric forests and plains. These calls could have served many purposes. They may have been used to warn the herd of approaching predators. They might have helped individuals find each other when separated. Or they could have been part of mating displays, with males calling out to attract females. Imagine standing in a quiet forest at dusk. Suddenly, a low, vibrating sound fills the air, like the note of a distant horn. It is the call of a Parasaurolophus announcing its presence to the world. These dinosaurs were not silent creatures. They filled their world with sound, communication, and music. Fact 38. Parasaurolophus. Crest was as long as 6 feet. The crest of Parasaurolophus was one of the most extraordinary features in the entire dinosaur world. It could grow to be 6 feet long, curving gracefully backward from the skull like a natural horn. Inside were looping air passages that gave the dinosaur its unique ability to produce sound. But the crest was not just functional. It was also beautiful. Its size and shape would have made the dinosaur instantly recognizable, even from a distance. It may have been brightly colored, serving as a visual signal to other members of the species. A large, healthy crest might have indicated that the dinosaur was strong and fit, making it more attractive to potential mates. Imagine a group of Parasaurolophus gathered near a river. The males stand tall, showing off their magnificent crests. They call to each other, their voices blending into a chorus of deep tones. The females watch, choosing the males with the most impressive displays. This crest turned Parasaurolophus into more than just a plant eater. It made them performers, artists of sound and sight in a world that was full of competition and beauty. Fact 39. Some dinosaurs could hear in infrasonic ranges. Humans cannot sound was incredibly important in the world of dinosaurs, and many species had hearing abilities far beyond our own. Studies of fossilized skulls suggest that hadrosaurs in particular could detect infrasonic sounds. These are sounds at frequencies too low for human ears to hear. Infrasound travels long distances, passing through forests and over hills without losing much strength. This ability would have been extremely useful. Dinosaurs could communicate across vast areas without ever seeing each other. A mother separated from her baby could call out, and the baby could hear her from miles away. Herds could stay in contact even when spread out over large territories. Predators approaching from a distance might create low vibrations as they walked, giving the herd an early warning of danger. Imagine being able to hear not just with your ears but with your whole body, feeling vibrations in your chest and bones. That is what it might have been like for these dinosaurs. They lived in a world of sound that was richer and more complex than we can fully understand. Today, elephants and whales use infrasound to communicate in similar ways. The dinosaurs may have been the first land animals to master this ancient form of long-distance conversation. Fact 40. Dinosaur skin impressions show scales, feathers, and even quills. Most dinosaur fossils preserve only bones, but every once in a while something special happens. The soft tissues of the body leave impressions in the rock, giving us a direct look at what the dinosaur's skin was like. These rare fossils show that dinosaurs had an amazing variety of coverings. Some dinosaurs had scales, but not the smooth scales of snakes. Their scales were bumpy and textured, arranged in patterns like mosaics. Others had feathers, from short fuzzy down to long flowing plumes. Still others had quills, stiff structures that stuck out from their bodies like the spines of a porcupine. These skin impressions also reveal patterns. Some dinosaurs had stripes or spots, which may have helped them blend into their surroundings, or may have been used for display. To see one of these fossils is to collapse the distance of millions of years. Suddenly you're not just looking at bones, you're seeing the actual surface of a living creature. You can imagine running your hand along its side, feeling the texture of its skin, These impressions remind us that dinosaurs were not just skeletons in museums. They were real animals with real bodies, covered in textures and patterns that told their own stories. Fact 41. Some dinosaurs had brightly coloured frills and crests to attract mates. In the natural world, appearance matters. Many animals use bright colours and elaborate displays to attract mates, and dinosaurs were no exception. Fossils show that many species had large frills, crests, or horns that were likely used for display. These structures were often filled with blood vessels, which means they could have been brightly coloured. Imagine a male ceratopsian with a wide frill around its neck. The frill is painted in brilliant shades of red, orange, and blue. When he wants to impress a female, he turns his head to show off the colours. The frill catches the sunlight and glows. The female watches, judging his health and strength based on how vibrant his colours are. This kind of display is common in nature. Peacocks spread their tails, birds of paradise perform elaborate dances, male deer grow large antlers. Dinosaurs were part of this same tradition. Beauty was not just a luxury, it was a tool for survival, a way to pass on genes to the next generation. The crests and frills we see in fossils were not just armour or decoration, they were statements, ways of saying, "Look at me, I am strong, I am healthy, I am worthy." Fact 42. Carnotaurus had tiny, almost useless arms. When we think of dinosaurs with tiny arms, Tyrannosaurus rex usually comes to mind. But another predator, Carnotaurus, had arms that were even smaller and stranger. Carnotaurus was a large meat-eater that lived in South America. It had a sleek, fast body built for speed. Its skull bore small horns above the eyes, giving it a fierce appearance. But its arms were incredibly tiny, even more so than those of T-Rex. They were so small and stiff that scientists believe they were almost completely useless. What were these arms for? Honestly, no one knows for sure. They may have been evolutionary leftovers, body parts that were no longer needed and slowly disappearing over time. Or maybe they served some small purpose we have not figured out yet, like helping the dinosaur balance when it stood up. Despite its odd arms, Carnotaurus was a successful predator. It relied on its speed, powerful jaws and sharp teeth to catch prey. Its arms were irrelevant to its survival. This reminds us that evolution does not always create perfection. Sometimes it leaves behind strange features that make us scratch our heads and wonder. Carnotaurus was deadly, fast, and successful, even with arms that seemed almost comically small. Fact 43. Tyrannosaurus had arms stronger than expected. While Carnotaurus had useless arms, the arms of Tyrannosaurus rex were actually quite powerful. Yes, they were short, only about 3 feet long on a dinosaur that could be over 40 feet from nose to tail, but they were heavily muscled and tipped with sharp, curved claws. Scientists believe each arm could lift several hundred pounds. So what did T-Rex use these arms for? They may have been used to grip prey during a struggle, holding the animal steady while the powerful jaws did the killing. They might have been used during mating, helping the male hold on to the female. Or they could have helped the dinosaur push itself up from a lying position. Whatever the purpose, the arms were far from useless. They were specialized tools, small but strong, perfectly suited for whatever role they played in the life of this apex predator. The arms of T-Rex remind us not to judge by appearances. What looks silly or weak at first glance may actually hide surprising strength and purpose. Fact 44. Oviraptors may have been excellent parents. For many years, a dinosaur called Oviraptor had a bad reputation. Its name means egg thief, and it was given this name because the first fossil was found near a nest of eggs. Scientists assumed it had been stealing them, but later discoveries told a very different story. More fossils were found showing oviraptors sitting on top of nests in protective postures. Their arms were spread out like wings, covering the eggs to keep them warm and safe. These were not stolen eggs. They were the oviraptor's own eggs, and it was caring for them, just like a modern bird broods its nest. Some fossils even show oviraptors that died while protecting their nests during sandstorms or floods. They refused to leave, even when it cost them their lives. This discovery completely changed how we see Oviraptor. It went from being a villain to a symbol of parental devotion. It shows that dinosaurs were capable of deep instincts to protect and nurture their young. The name Oviraptor is now misleading, but it has stuck. Still, every time we see its fossils, we're reminded of the power of a parent's love stretching back millions of years. Fact 45. Fossils show some dinosaurs, brooding their nests like birds. Beyond just Oviraptor, many other dinosaur species have been found preserved in brooding positions. These fossils show the dinosaur crouched over a nest, its body covering the eggs, its limbs spread out protectively. The similarity to modern birds is striking. Today, birds sit on their nest to keep the eggs warm and safe from predators. Dinosaurs did the exact same thing. This behavior tells us something important. Parental care is not a new invention. It is ancient, reaching back into deep time. Dinosaurs may have turned their eggs regularly to ensure even warmth. They may have defended their nest fiercely from predators. They may have even stayed with their young after they hatched, teaching them how to find food and avoid danger. Imagine a small feathered dinosaur sitting quietly on its nest at night. The eggs beneath it are warm and safe. The parent's eyes are alert, watching for any movement in the darkness. This scene has been repeated countless times over millions of years, from dinosaurs to birds to the sparrows nesting outside your window today. It is a thread of continuity, connecting the ancient past to the living present. Fact 46. Some baby dinosaurs had sharp teeth that later disappeared. Growth and change were constant in the life of a dinosaur. Fossils of baby dinosaurs reveal something surprising. Some were born with small, sharp teeth that completely disappeared as they grew older. These baby teeth may have helped them survive their earliest days. Perhaps they used them to break out of their eggshells, or maybe they ate different foods as babies than they would eat as adults. Fact 47. Some dinosaurs grew incredibly fast, gaining dozens of pounds a day. The rate at which some dinosaurs grew is almost hard to believe. Scientists study growth rings in fossilized bones, much like counting the rings in a tree trunk. These rings show that many large dinosaurs grew at astonishing speeds. Some could gain dozens of pounds every single day during their rapid growth phases. Fact 48. Dinosaurs came in a rainbow of colours, not just green or brown. For much of history, dinosaurs were shown in dull colours: grey, brown, green. They looked like oversized lizards blending into swamps and forests. But modern science has revealed something wonderful. Dinosaurs were colourful. Fossils preserve microscopic structures called melanosomes, which are the same structures that create colour in bird feathers today. By studying these, scientists can figure out what colours the dinosaurs actually had. Fact 49. Fossils revealed traces of red, orange, black, and even iridescent hues. The specific colours found in dinosaur fossils are remarkable. One small dinosaur from China, called Anchiornis, has been studied in great detail. Scientists determined that it had a black and white body with a bright rusty red crown on its head. It looked more like a woodpecker than a reptile. Other dinosaurs had iridescent feathers. This means their feathers did not just have one colour. Instead, they shimmered and changed colour depending on the angle of the light, just like the feathers of a crow or a magpie. This kind of coloration is often used for display, catching the eye and making the animal stand out. Imagine a male dinosaur standing in a sunny clearing. He raises his crest and it flashes with purple, green, and gold. A potential mate watches from nearby, impressed by the display. These colours were not random. They were signals, messages, and tools for survival. They told others about health, strength, and fitness. The discovery of these ancient colours brings dinosaurs to life in a way that bones alone never could. We can finally see them not as skeletons, but as living, breathing animals dressed in the colours of life. Fact 50. Some dinosaurs had camouflage patterns. Not every dinosaur wanted to be seen. Some relied on stealth and camouflage to survive. Fossils have revealed patterns of stripes, spots, and mottled colours that would have helped dinosaurs blend into their surroundings. These patterns worked just like the camouflage we see in animals today, breaking up the outline of the body and making it harder to spot. Fact 51. Others likely. Used bold patterns to scare rivals. While some dinosaurs hid using camouflage, others did exactly the opposite. They wanted to be seen. Many dinosaurs probably had bold, striking patterns designed to intimidate rivals or impress potential mates. Think about animals today like peacocks with their enormous colourful tails, or male mandrills with their bright blue and red faces. Dinosaurs likely used the same strategy. A male dinosaur might have had vivid stripes across its face, or bright patches of colour on its frill. When it encountered a rival, it would turn to display these markings, making itself look bigger and more threatening. The message was clear: I am strong, I am healthy, do not challenge me. Sometimes these displays were enough to avoid actual fighting. The rival would back down, recognizing that it was outmatched. Other times the display would escalate into a physical contest, but even then, the colours played a role, signalling dominance and confidence. Imagine two dinosaurs facing each other across a clearing. One spreads its arms wide, revealing brilliant red and yellow patterns underneath. The other hesitates, then turns and walks away. The battle was won without a single blow being struck. In nature, appearance can be just as powerful as strength. The dinosaurs understood this, using colour as both a shield and a weapon. Fact 52. Ceratopsians had frills that may have displayed species identity. The horned dinosaurs, known as ceratopsians, are famous for their elaborate frills. These were large bony structures that extended from the back of the skull, creating a dramatic crown around the head. While these frills may have offered some protection, many were thin and filled with openings, making them less useful as armour. Instead, scientists believe they were primarily for display and identification. Different species of ceratopsians had uniquely shaped frills. Some had smooth edges, others had scalloped or spiked borders. Some frills were short and wide, while others were tall and narrow. These differences would have made it easy for dinosaurs to recognize members of their own species from a distance. This was important for social animals that lived in herds. You needed to know who was part of your group and who was an outsider. The frills may also have been brightly coloured, adding another layer of visual communication. Imagine a herd of triceratops spread across a plain. Each animal displays its distinctive frill, a living banner announcing its identity. From far away, another triceratops can look at the herd and know immediately whether these are relatives or strangers. These frills were more than just bone. They were social signals carrying messages across the landscape about species, family, and belonging. Fact 53. Pachycephalosaurs had domed skulls, thicker than a baseball bat. Among the strangest dinosaurs were the pachycephalosaurs, whose name means thick-headed lizards. These dinosaurs had skulls topped with enormous domes of solid bone. In some species, these domes were over 10 inches thick, far thicker than a baseball bat. The top of the dome was smooth and rounded, but the sides were often decorated with knobs and spikes. What were these thick skulls for? The most popular theory is that they were used in head-butting contests, similar to what we see in modern rams and bighorn sheep. Males would compete for territory or mates by charging at each other and crashing their heads together. The thick bone would absorb the impact, protecting the brain from injury. Imagine two pachycephalosaurs facing each other on a hillside. They lower their heads, their domes gleam in the sunlight, then they charge, their feet pounding the ground. The collision echoes like a thunderclap. Neither is seriously hurt, but one is pushed back. The contest is over, and the winner has proven his strength. Not all encounters may have been this violent. Sometimes just displaying the size and shape of the dome might have been enough to establish dominance without actual contact. These thick skulls remind us that in evolution, even the head can become a tool, a weapon, and a symbol of power. Fact 54. They may have head-butted each other in contests. The evidence for head-butting behaviour in pachycephalosaurs is strong. Fossilised skulls show damage and healed injuries that match what we would expect from repeated impacts. Some domes have dents or depressions. Others show signs of bone remodelling, where the skull grew extra layers to repair damage. This kind of wear and tear tells us that these dinosaurs were using their heads in combat. Picture a breeding season when males compete for the attention of females. The males gather in an open area, showing off their domes. The largest and most colourful domes attract the most attention. But size alone is not enough. The males must prove themselves. Two rivals step forward. They circle each other, testing for weakness. Then, without warning, they charge. Their domes collide with bone-shaking force. The sound carries across the valley. Other dinosaurs stop and watch. After several rounds, one male retreats, defeated. The winner stands tall, his dome slightly scuffed, but his dominance established. This ritual combat was not about killing. It was about establishing order, determining who was strongest, and earning the right to pass on genes to the next generation. The domed skulls were built for these contests, designed by evolution to withstand tremendous force while protecting the brain inside. Fact 55. Some dinosaurs could regrow broken horns. Horns were essential tools for many dinosaurs. They were used for defense, combat, and display. But what happened when a horn broke during a fight or accident? Fossil evidence shows that some dinosaurs had the remarkable ability to regrow damaged horns. Scientists have found skulls with healed fractures and signs of new horn growth where the old horn was broken off. This regeneration would have been crucial in a world where horns were constantly tested. A triceratops that lost a horn in battle could regrow it over time, eventually restoring its full defensive capability. The new horn might not look exactly like the original. It might grow at a slightly different angle or have a different texture, but it would still be functional. Imagine a young ceratopsian that breaks a horn while defending itself from a predator. Over the following months, new bone tissue slowly forms. The horn gradually extends, growing longer and stronger. Within a year, the horn is fully restored, and the dinosaur is ready to face challenges once again. This ability to repair and regrow body parts shows how resilient dinosaurs were. They were not fragile creatures. They were tough, adaptable survivors, capable of healing from serious injuries and continuing to thrive. Fact 56. Raptors had a killing claw that curved like a sickle. The raptors, small to medium-sized predatory dinosaurs, carried one of the most distinctive weapons in the entire dinosaur arsenal. On each hind foot they had a large curved claw that looked like a sickle. This claw was held up off the ground while the dinosaur walked, keeping it sharp and ready for use. When attacking prey, the raptor would kick forward, driving the claw downward in a slashing motion. The design of this claw was perfect for its purpose. The curve allowed it to hook into flesh. The sharp edge could slice through skin and muscle. The size, sometimes several inches long, made it capable of causing serious damage with a single strike. Imagine a raptor leaping onto the back of a larger animal. It grips with its hands, balances with its tail, and kicks repeatedly with its sickle claws. Each kick opens new wounds. The prey weakens quickly. This hunting technique was efficient and deadly. The sickle claw has become one of the most recognizable features of raptors, a symbol of their predatory nature. It shows that evolution can create weapons of incredible precision and effectiveness. These claws were not brute force tools. They were surgical instruments, designed to kill quickly and efficiently. Fact 57. Those claws were sharper than steak knives. When scientists examine fossilized raptor claws, they find edges that would have been incredibly sharp when fresh. Microscopic studies reveal fine cutting edges with grooves worn into them from repeated use. These claws were maintained like blades, kept sharp through constant use and natural wear. In terms of cutting ability, they would have rivaled or exceeded the sharpness of modern steak knives. The raptors used these claws in a variety of ways. They could slash at prey to weaken it. They could pin down struggling animals while delivering a killing bite. They could even climb trees or grip branches, using the claws like climbing hooks. The versatility of these claws made raptors some of the most effective hunters of their size. Imagine encountering one of these predators in the wild. Its claws gleam in the sunlight, curved and deadly. It moves with confidence, knowing it carries weapons that few creatures can match. Even larger dinosaurs would have thought twice before attacking a raptor. The claws were a deterrent, a warning that this small predator was not to be underestimated. These natural blades carried on the feet of creatures that lived millions of years ago were as refined and effective as any tool humans have ever created. Fact 58. Giganotosaurus was larger than Tyrannosaurus. Rex. For many years, Tyrannosaurus rex was considered the largest land predator that ever lived. Then, in the 1990s, Paleontologists in Argentina discovered something that challenged that title. They found fossils of Giganotosaurus, a massive predator that was even larger than T-Rex. This dinosaur stretched over 40 feet in length, and its skull alone measured more than 5 feet long. While T-Rex had the most powerful bite, Giganotosaurus had a different hunting strategy. Its teeth were sharp and blade-like, designed for slicing rather than crushing. It probably attacked large prey by inflicting deep wounds and then following the wounded animal until it weakened from blood loss. Some scientists believe Giganotosaurus may have hunted in packs, working together to bring down giant sauropods. Imagine a group of these enormous predators surrounding a sauropod that weighs many tons. They dart in and out, slashing with their teeth, avoiding the powerful tail and massive legs. Slowly the giant weakens. Finally it falls, and the hunters move in. Giganotosaurus lived millions of years before T-Rex in a different part of the world. Its discovery proved that giant predators evolved multiple times in different places. The throne of a largest predator was not held by just one species, but by several across different times and continents. Fact 59. Argentinosaurus may have been the largest land animal ever. If Giganotosaurus was huge, the prey it hunted was even larger. Argentinosaurus, discovered in the same region of South America, may have been the largest land animal that ever existed. This titanosaur stretched an estimated 100 feet in length and weighed over 70 tons. To truly grasp that size, imagine an animal as long as a basketball court and as heavy as a dozen elephants combined. The fossils of Argentinosaurus are incomplete, so scientists have to estimate its full size based on comparisons with related species. But even conservative estimates place it among the absolute largest creatures to ever walk on land. Its bones were massive. A single vertebra could weigh more than an adult human. Its legs were like pillars, designed to support incredible weight. How did such a creature survive? It spent most of its time eating. An animal that large needed to consume enormous amounts of vegetation every day just to maintain its body. It moved slowly through forests and plains, using its long neck to reach vegetation that smaller dinosaurs could not access. When it walked, the ground trembled. When it called, the sound carried for miles. Argentinosaurus was not just a dinosaur. It was a walking mountain, a testament to how far evolution can push the limits of size. Fact 60. The smallest known dinosaur weighed less than a mouse. While giants like Argentinosaurus dominated one end of the size spectrum, the other end was occupied by dinosaurs so small they could fit in the palm of your hand. Some of the tiniest known dinosaurs weighed less than a mouse. These miniature creatures were fast, agile, and perfectly adapted to life in the trees and undergrowth. One example is Microraptor, a small feathered predator that was only about 2 feet long from nose to tail. It weighed just a few pounds. Other even smaller species may have existed, though their delicate bones are rarely preserved in fossils. These tiny dinosaurs lived frantic, high-energy lives. They hunted insects, small lizards, and other tiny prey. They had to be constantly alert for predators, including larger dinosaurs, early mammals, and even other small predators. Imagine crouching low in a prehistoric forest. You hear a rustling sound. A tiny dinosaur, no bigger than a sparrow, darts across a fallen log. Its feathers are iridescent, flashing in the dim light. It pauses for a moment, tilts its head, and then vanishes into the underbrush. These miniature dinosaurs remind us that success in nature is not always about being the biggest or the strongest. Sometimes being small means being overlooked, and being overlooked means staying alive. Fact 61. Dinosaurs coexisted with early mammals. During the age of dinosaurs, the world was not theirs alone. Small mammals lived alongside them, scurrying through the undergrowth, hiding in burrows and foraging at night. These early mammals were usually tiny, about the size of mice or rats. They survived by staying out of sight and avoiding the attention of larger predators. For over 100 million years, mammals and dinosaurs shared the same ecosystems. The mammals were not dominant. They lived in the shadows, literally and figuratively. Most were nocturnal, coming out only at night when the dinosaurs were less active. They ate insects, seeds, and whatever scraps they could find. Some were excellent climbers, living in trees where they were safer from ground-dwelling predators. Others dug complex burrow systems underground. Despite their small size and humble lifestyles, these mammals were survivors. They developed traits that would later become crucial. They gave birth to live young instead of laying eggs. They nursed their babies with milk. They had fur to keep warm. When the asteroid struck and wiped out the non-avian dinosaurs, these small mammals were among the survivors. They emerged from the ashes and began to diversify, eventually giving rise to all the mammals we see today, including humans. The coexistence of dinosaurs and mammals was a quiet partnership, with each group filling different roles in the same world. Fact 62. Some mammals even preyed on baby dinosaurs. While most mammals stayed hidden and avoided dinosaurs, some were bold enough to turn the tables. Fossils have been found showing small mammals with dinosaur bones in their stomachs. These were not full-grown dinosaurs, of course. They were babies, newly hatched and vulnerable. These opportunistic mammals would sneak into nests when the parents were away and snatch the young. Imagine a mammal no bigger than a house cat creeping through tall grass at dawn. It approaches a dinosaur nest cautiously. The adult is away, searching for food. The nest is full of tiny hatchlings, each one barely bigger than a chicken. The mammal strikes quickly, grabbing one of the babies and retreating before the parent returns. This behavior shows that even in a world dominated by dinosaurs, the small creatures found ways to exploit weaknesses. Baby dinosaurs, for all the power their species possessed, were fragile and defenseless in their earliest days. The mammals took advantage of this vulnerability. It is a reminder that ecosystems are complex webs where even the smallest creatures can have an impact. The mighty dinosaurs, rulers of the earth, still had to contend with dangers from unexpected places. No creature, no matter how powerful, is completely invincible. Fact 63. Dinosaurs and flowers evolved around the same time. The age of dinosaurs was not just about animals. It was also a time of dramatic change in the plant world. Around the middle of the Cretaceous period, about 100 million years ago, flowering plants began to appear. Before this, the world was dominated by ferns, conifers, and cycads. But flowers brought something new: bright colours, sweet scents, and new ways of reproducing. Dinosaurs walked through landscapes that were slowly filling with blooms. Early flowers were small and simple, but they spread quickly. They offered new food sources for herbivorous dinosaurs, who could now eat fruits, nectar, and tender flower petals in addition to leaves and stems. This change in diet may have influenced the evolution of certain dinosaur species, leading to new types of teeth and digestive systems. The rise of flowers also affected insects, which became important pollinators. As flowers evolved to attract specific insects, the insects evolved to better access the flowers. This created a partnership that still exists today. Imagine a late Cretaceous forest. Sunlight filters through the canopy. The ground is carpeted with colourful blooms. A hadrosaur lowers its head and plucks a cluster of flowers, chewing them slowly. Nearby, a bee-like insect buzzes from blossom to blossom. The world was transforming, becoming more vibrant and diverse with each passing million years. Fact 64. By the end of the Cretaceous, flowering plants dominated Earth. What began as a quiet emergence became a revolution. By the end of the Cretaceous period, flowering plants had spread across the globe and become the dominant form of plant life. Forests were filled with trees that produced flowers and fruits. Grasslands, though not yet like modern prairies, were starting to develop. The landscape had been completely transformed. This shift had profound effects on dinosaurs. Herbivores now had access to a much wider variety of foods. Different species specialized in different plants. Some ate leaves. Others preferred fruits. Some may have eaten flowers themselves. This diversity of food sources allowed more species to coexist in the same areas without competing directly for the same resources. Imagine standing in a Cretaceous meadow at sunset. The air is thick with the scent of flowers. Insects hum in the warm air. A herd of small plant-eating dinosaurs moves through the field, each one feeding on a different type of bloom. In the distance, a large predator watches, waiting for an opportunity. The world had become richer, more colourful and more complex. Flowering plants did not just change the scenery. They reshaped the entire structure of life on Earth, creating new opportunities and new challenges for every creature that lived. Fact 65. Some dinosaurs probably pollinated plants. If flowering plants needed help spreading their pollen, some dinosaurs may have provided it. Just as bees, birds, and bats pollinate flowers today, small feathered dinosaurs or early bird-like creatures may have played the same role millions of years ago. When a dinosaur stuck its snout into a flower to drink nectar or eat pollen, grains would stick to its face and feathers. When it moved to the next flower, some of that pollen would transfer, fertilizing the plant. This relationship would have benefited both the plant and the dinosaur. The plant got help reproducing. The dinosaur got food. Over time, plants may have evolved specific features to attract certain dinosaurs, like bright colors or strong scents. The dinosaurs in turn may have developed preferences for certain flowers. Imagine a tiny feathered dinosaur hopping from flower to flower in the early morning light. Its face is dusted with yellow pollen. It chirps softly as it feeds, completely unaware that it is helping the plants around it reproduce. This kind of partnership is one of the most beautiful aspects of nature. Different species working together, each one helping the other survive. The dinosaurs and the flowers were part of the same story, shaping each other's evolution in quiet, invisible ways. Fact 66. Dinosaurs farted enough methane to change the climate. This fact might sound humorous, but it is actually quite serious. Scientists have calculated that the giant sauropods, with their enormous bodies and plant-based diets, produced massive amounts of methane gas as a byproduct of digestion. Methane is a powerful greenhouse gas, much more effective at trapping heat than carbon dioxide. With millions of these giants living across the world, the total amount of methane they released may have been enough to significantly warm the planet. This is not just speculation. Modern cows produce methane in the same way, and their emissions are a real concern for climate scientists today. The sauropods were much larger and far more numerous during their peak. Imagine herds of these giants grazing across vast plains, each one releasing methane throughout the day. The cumulative effect over millions of years could have raised global temperatures by several degrees. This warming may have contributed to the hot, humid climate of the Mesozoic era. It shows that living creatures, not just geological processes, can shape the climate of an entire planet. Even something as simple as digestion can have global consequences when it happens on a large enough scale. The dinosaurs did not just live on Earth, they changed it, influencing the atmosphere and climate in ways we are only beginning to understand. Fact 67. Some may have helped spread seeds. Through their dung, dinosaurs did not just consume plants, they also helped them spread. When a dinosaur ate fruit or vegetation containing seeds, those seeds would pass through its digestive system. Many seeds have tough coats that protect them from being digested. They would come out the other end, deposited in the dinosaur's dung, often far from where the original plant grew. This process, called seed dispersal, is crucial for plant reproduction. A seed deposited in dung has several advantages. It comes with its own fertilizer, giving the young plant nutrients to help it grow. It is also moved away from the parent plant, reducing competition. Over time, plants may have evolved seeds specifically designed to be eaten and spread this way. Imagine a massive sauropod walking through a forest. It stops to eat fruit from a tree. Hours or even days later, it deposits those seeds many miles away in a new location. Some of those seeds sprout, and new trees begin to grow. In this way, dinosaurs acted as gardeners of their world, planting forests without even knowing it. This relationship between dinosaurs and plants was a partnership. The plants provided food, the dinosaurs provided transportation and fertilizer. Together they shaped the landscapes of the Mesozoic era. Fact 68. Fossils preserve dinosaur stomach contents. Some of the most fascinating fossils are those that preserve what a dinosaur ate in its final hours. These are rare finds, but when they occur, they give us an incredibly detailed look at the diet and behavior of these ancient creatures. Scientists have found fossilized stomach contents that include partially digested plants, fish bones, and even the remains of other dinosaurs. Fact 69. Fossilized dung is called coprolite. It might not sound glamorous, but fossilized dinosaur dung is one of the most valuable types of fossils for scientists. This ancient waste, called coprolite, can reveal enormous amounts of information about what dinosaurs ate, how their digestive systems worked, and what other creatures lived in their ecosystems. When examined under microscopes, coprolites often contain fragments of bone, plant fibers, seeds, shells, and even pollen grains. Fact 70. One coprolite weighed more than 40 pounds. Among the largest coprolites ever discovered is one believed to have come from a massive predator, possibly a Tyrannosaurus rex. This specimen weighs over 40 pounds, making it heavier than a cinder block. Inside, scientists found fragments of bone, showing that the predator had consumed large amounts of meat and bone in a single meal. Fact 71. Some dinosaurs swallowed stones to help grind food. Many plant-eating dinosaurs did not have the kind of teeth needed to grind tough vegetation into digestible pieces. Instead, they swallowed stones. These stones, called gastroliths, would sit in the dinosaur's stomach, tumbling around and grinding the food into smaller particles. It is the same strategy that modern birds use when they swallow grit to help digest seeds. Fact 72. These stomach stones are called gastroliths. The technical term for these swallowed stones is gastroliths, which comes from Greek words meaning stomach stones. Gastroliths have been found not only in dinosaurs, but also in other ancient reptiles like plesiosaurs, the long-necked marine reptiles that lived in the oceans during the age of dinosaurs. Even some modern animals, including crocodiles and seals, swallow stones today. Fact 73. Sauropod. Necks could be longer than a giraffe's entire body. The necks of sauropods are among the most astonishing features in all of biology. Some species had necks that stretched over 30 feet in length, longer than the entire body of a modern giraffe. These necks allowed sauropods to reach vegetation that no other animal could access. They could strip leaves from the tops of tall trees or sweep their heads across wide areas of low, growing plants without moving their massive bodies. Fact 74. Some sauropods had more than 15 vertebrae in their necks. While humans have only 7 vertebrae in their necks, sauropods had many more. Some species had 15 neck vertebrae. Others had even more, with some reaching 19 or 20. Each of these vertebrae was elongated and specially designed. They had ridges and hollows for muscle attachment. They had spaces for air sacs. They interlocked in ways that provided stability, while still allowing movement. The sheer number of vertebrae gave the neck both length and flexibility. A sauropod could curve its neck into an S shape, or sweep it from side to side in wide arcs. It could raise its head high, or lower it all the way to the ground. This versatility made the neck an incredibly useful tool for feeding in different environments and at different heights. Imagine looking at a sauropod skeleton in a museum. You walk along the length of the neck, counting each vertebra. 1, 2, 3, and on and on. By the time you reach the skull, you've counted more vertebrae than seem possible. Each one is a marvel of design, light yet strong, simple yet sophisticated. Together, they create one of the most distinctive features of any animal that ever lived. The sauropod neck is a testament to what evolution can achieve when it has millions of years to work with. Fact 75. Titanosaurs had skins studded with bony plates. While many sauropods relied on size alone for protection, one group took defense a step further. The titanosaurs, which include some of the largest dinosaurs ever discovered, had skin that was studded with bony plates called osteoderms. These were similar to the armor found on crocodiles and armadillos. The plates were embedded in the skin, creating a flexible but protective covering. Facts 76-100. 5,000 words. Fact 76. Certain sauropods held their necks like giant vacuum hoses. Not all sauropods carried their necks in the same way. While some species like Brachiosaurus held their necks upright, reaching high into the trees, others had a very different strategy. Diplodocus and similar species appear to have held their necks horizontally, extending them straight out in front of their bodies. This posture turned the neck into something like a giant vacuum hose, sweeping from side to side to gather food. This horizontal feeding style had real advantages. The dinosaur could stand in one place and reach a wide area of vegetation without expending energy to move its massive body. It would swing its neck left and right in gentle arcs, stripping leaves and plants from a broad swath of ground. This was especially useful in open areas where food was spread out rather than concentrated in tall trees. Imagine watching a diplodocus feed in a meadow. Its body remains perfectly still, planted like a living monument. But its neck moves constantly, sweeping back and forth like a pendulum. The head grazes close to the ground, pulling up ferns and low bushes. In just a few minutes, it has cleared an area the size of a basketball court without taking a single step. This feeding strategy shows how different sauropod species divided up resources. Some fed high, some fed low. This meant multiple species could live in the same area without competing directly for food. Fact 77. Brachiosaurus stood as tall as a 5-story building. Among the tallest of all dinosaurs was Brachiosaurus, whose name means arm lizard because its front legs were longer than its back legs. This gave it an unusual upward-tilted posture, like a living crane or giraffe. When it stretched its neck to full height, Brachiosaurus could reach over 50 feet into the air. That is as tall as a 5-story building. This incredible height gave Brachiosaurus access to food that no other herbivore could reach. While other dinosaurs fed on low bushes or medium-height trees, Brachiosaurus grazed the very tops of the tallest trees. Its teeth were shaped like chisels, perfect for stripping leaves from branches. It did not chew its food much. Instead, it swallowed leaves whole and let its powerful digestive system do the rest of the work. Imagine standing at the base of a tall tree and looking up. High above, almost out of sight, you see the head of a Brachiosaurus calmly eating leaves. Its body below is massive and powerful, supporting the weight of that incredible neck. When it moved, each step was slow and deliberate, like watching a building walk. The ground shook slightly with every footfall. This dinosaur was not just tall, it was majestic, a creature that commanded respect simply by existing. Fact 78. Some dinosaurs had nostrils high up on their heads. One curious feature found in some sauropods like Brachiosaurus was the position of their nostrils. Instead of being at the front of the snout like in most animals, the nostrils were located high on the skull, sometimes almost on top of the head. For many years, scientists thought this meant the dinosaurs spent time in water, using their nostrils like snorkels while their bodies were submerged. However, that theory has largely been abandoned. Most scientists now believe the high nostrils served different purposes. They may have been connected to large nasal cavities that helped with breathing or temperature regulation. Some researchers think they could have been involved in producing sounds, with the chambers acting like resonating spaces to amplify calls. Others suggest they simply evolved that way due to the structure of the skull and did not have any special function. Imagine a Brachiosaurus lifting its head high into the canopy. Its nostrils, positioned near the top of its skull, are perfectly placed to take in air without obstruction from leaves and branches. Whether this was intentional or just a side effect of skull design, we may never know for certain. What we do know is that dinosaur anatomy was full of surprises, with features that still puzzle scientists today. Fact 79. Dilophosaurus had twin crests on its skull. Dilophosaurus was a large predator that lived during the early Jurassic period. It stretched about 20 feet in length and had powerful jaws filled with sharp teeth. But what made it truly distinctive were the two thin crests that rose from the top of its skull. These crests were delicate and fragile, much too weak to be used in combat. Instead, scientists believe they were for display. The crests may have been brightly coloured, helping males attract females or establish dominance over rivals. They could have been used in visual communication, signalling mood or intent. Some species of modern birds have similar crests that play important roles in social behaviour. The crests of Dilophosaurus would have made each individual easily recognisable from a distance. Imagine two Dilophosaurus meeting at the edge of a forest. They turn their heads to show off their crests. The colours flash in the sunlight. One has a larger, more vibrant crest than the other. The smaller one backs down, recognising that it has been outmatched without a fight ever occurring. These crests transformed Dilophosaurus from a simple predator into a complex social creature, one that used appearance as much as strength to navigate its world. The twin crests remain one of the most elegant features found in any predatory dinosaur. Fact 80. It probably did not spit venom like in Jurassic Park. Thanks to the movie Jurassic Park, many people imagine Dilophosaurus as a small dinosaur with a large frill around its neck that could spit deadly venom at its prey. This image is memorable and frightening, but it is entirely fictional. There is no fossil evidence that Dilophosaurus had a frill. There is no evidence it could spit venom. In fact, the real Dilophosaurus was much larger than the movie version and looked completely different. The movie creators took creative liberties to make the dinosaur more dramatic and scary. While this made for great cinema, it created a widespread misconception. The real Dilophosaurus was already impressive without any embellishments. It was a powerful predator with strong jaws, sharp teeth, and those distinctive twin crests. It did not need venom or frills to be dangerous. Imagine encountering the real Dilophosaurus in the wild. It is much taller than you expected, standing over 6 feet high at the hip. Its crests catch your eye first, elegant and striking. Then you notice its teeth, rows of them, sharp and ready. There is no frill, no venom spray, just a large, capable predator perfectly designed for its environment. The truth about Dilophosaurus is just as fascinating as the fiction, perhaps even more so because it actually existed. Fact 81. Velociraptors did not look like in the movies. They were feathered. Another victim of Hollywood reimagining is Velociraptor. In the Jurassic Park films, these dinosaurs are shown as large, scaly, reptilian predators that hunt in coordinated packs. While some of those behaviors may be accurate, the appearance is completely wrong. Real velociraptors were small, about the size of a large turkey. More importantly, they were covered in feathers. Fossils from Mongolia show clear evidence of feathers. There are even structures called quill knobs on the arm bones, which are bumps where feathers attach in modern birds. These feathers were not just for warmth. They may have been used for display, balance, or even limited gliding. The feathered velociraptor would have looked much more like a bird than a lizard. Imagine a creature with a sleek body covered in dark feathers. Its arms have long feathers extending from them. Its tail is fringed with more feathers that help it balance as it runs. It moves with quick, jerky motions like a large bird hunting on the ground. This is much closer to what Velociraptor actually looked like. The discovery of feathers on raptors changed everything we thought we knew about these predators. They were not scaly monsters. They were feathered hunters, closer to birds than anyone imagined. Fact 82. Tyrannosaurus rex likely did not roar. It may have made deep, rumbling sounds. The roar of Tyrannosaurus rex in movies is iconic. It is loud, terrifying, and unforgettable. But it is probably wrong. Fossils cannot tell us directly what sounds dinosaurs made, but scientists can make educated guesses based on their closest living relatives, which are birds and crocodiles. Neither birds nor crocodiles roar like lions or bears. Instead, they make different kinds of sounds. Crocodiles produce deep, rumbling sounds that are felt as much as heard. Birds can sing, chirp, and call in various ways. Combining these clues, scientists believe T-Rex probably made low-frequency sounds, possibly infrasonic rumbles that were too deep for human ears to fully detect. These sounds would have travelled long distances, vibrating through the ground and air, announcing the predator's presence to everything nearby. Imagine standing in a forest at dusk. The air is still. Suddenly you feel a vibration in your chest, a deep rumble that seems to come from everywhere at once. It is not loud in the traditional sense, but it is impossible to ignore. Your body responds with instinctive fear before your mind even processes what is happening. That may have been what encountering a T-Rex sounded like. Not a roar, but something deeper, stranger, and perhaps even more frightening. Fact 83. Dinosaur footprints can stretch over 3 feet wide. Some of the most impressive fossils are not bones but footprints. The tracks left by the largest dinosaurs can be truly enormous. Some measure over 3 feet wide, larger than the height of a small child. These massive impressions show just how heavy these animals were. Each footprint represents thousands of pounds of weight pressing down into soft mud or sand. Standing in one of these ancient footprints is a humbling experience. You realize that a creature once stood exactly where you are standing, but it was so large that you could lie down inside its footprint and not touch the edges. These tracks are found in many places around the world, preserved in rock that was once soft ground. They tell us about how dinosaurs moved, how fast they walked, and whether they travelled alone or in groups. Imagine a massive sauropod walking across a mudflat millions of years ago. Each step sinks deep into the wet ground. The dinosaur moves on, but the footprints remain. Over time, sediment fills them in, and they harden into stone. Today we can place our hands in those same footprints and touch a moment frozen in time. These tracks connect us directly to the dinosaurs in a way that bones cannot. They show us exactly where these giants walked and how they moved through their world. Fact 84. Fossilized trackways reveal dinosaurs. Running, resting, and even sliding trackways do more than just show where dinosaurs walked. They reveal behavior in remarkable detail. Some trackways show running patterns, with footprints spaced far apart as the dinosaur sprinted. Others show places where a dinosaur stopped and rested, leaving impressions of its body, belly, and tail in the ground. Some even show sliding marks where a dinosaur lost its footing on a slope or skidded through mud. These behavioral snapshots are incredibly valuable to scientists. They show that dinosaurs were active, dynamic creatures with complex movements. One famous trackway shows a large predator chasing a smaller herbivore. You can see where the predator's stride lengthened as it sped up. You can see where the herbivore veered suddenly, trying to escape. The story plays out in stone, a chase that happened over 100 million years ago. Imagine watching this scene unfold. The herbivore runs desperately, its feet kicking up mud. The predator closes in, its powerful legs driving it forward. Then the tracks end, leaving us to wonder how the chase concluded. Did the herbivore escape? Did the predator catch its meal? The rocks do not tell us everything, but they tell us enough to bring these ancient moments back to life in our imaginations. Fact 85. Some show mother dinosaurs walking with babies. Among the most touching discoveries are trackways that preserve the footprints of adult dinosaurs walking alongside much smaller footprints. Presumably they're young. These tracks show that baby dinosaurs stayed close to their parents, following them as they moved through their environment. The smaller prints often appear between or beside the larger ones, suggesting the adults were protecting the young. Some trackways show entire family groups travelling together, multiple adults with juveniles of various sizes, all moving in the same direction. This suggests complex social structures where dinosaurs cared for their offspring over extended periods. The young were not abandoned after hatching. They were raised, protected, and taught how to survive. Imagine a mother hadrosaur leading her babies across a riverbed. She walks slowly, checking behind her frequently to make sure they are keeping up. The babies follow in her footsteps, literally placing their tiny feet in the impression she leaves behind. Other adults flank the group, watching for danger. This scene, preserved in stone, shows us that parental care and family bonds are ancient instincts that stretch back into deep time. The love between parent and child is not a modern invention. It has existed for hundreds of millions of years. Fact 86. There are over 1,000 known dinosaur species. The diversity of dinosaurs is staggering. To date, paleontologists have identified and named over 1,000 different species. Each one is unique, with its own combination of features, adaptations, and ecological role. Some were enormous, others were tiny. Some had horns, others had crests. Some had armour, while others relied on speed. This incredible variety shows just how successful dinosaurs were as a group. And the list keeps growing. New species are discovered regularly, sometimes at a rate of one or more per month. Each new find adds another piece to the puzzle of dinosaur evolution and ecology. Some discoveries overturn long-held assumptions, others fill in gaps in our understanding. Still others introduce completely unexpected features that nobody predicted. Imagine all the species we still have not found. Their fossils lie buried in remote deserts, under city streets, or beneath ocean floors. Each one holds secrets about a world we can only glimpse through fragments of bone and stone. The dinosaurs were not just a few famous species like Tyrannosaurus and Triceratops. They were an enormous, diverse group that filled every possible niche in their ecosystems. We have only scratched the surface of understanding how varied and complex their world truly was. Fact 87. New species are discovered. Almost. Every month, the golden age of dinosaur discovery is not in the past. It is happening right now. With improved technology, better funding and more paleontologists working in more countries than ever before, new dinosaur species are being discovered at an unprecedented rate. On average, more than a dozen new species are officially described and named each year. That means roughly one new dinosaur species is announced every month. These discoveries come from all over the world. China has been a particularly rich source of feathered dinosaur fossils. South America continues to yield giant sauropods and predators. Even places that were once thought to have few dinosaurs, like Antarctica and Australia, are producing surprising finds. Each new species teaches us something new. Some show us unexpected combinations of features. Others reveal that certain dinosaur groups were more diverse than we realized. Still others push back the timeline of when certain traits evolved. Imagine being the scientist who brushes away the last bit of rock to reveal a skull that belongs to a species no human has ever seen before. You get to name it. You get to describe it to the world. You get to add a new chapter to the story of life on Earth. This is happening regularly, and it means our understanding of dinosaurs is constantly evolving and improving. Fact 88. Some fossils are found by pure accident. Not every important fossil is discovered by professional paleontologists on carefully planned expeditions. Many of the most significant finds in history were made by accident, by people who were not looking for dinosaurs at all. Farmers ploughing fields have uncovered massive bones. Construction workers digging foundations have struck fossil deposits. Hikers have stumbled over exposed skeletons in remote canyons. One famous example comes from Canada, where miners working in an oil sands mine discovered one of the best preserved dinosaur fossils ever found. The nodosaur they uncovered was so well preserved that its armour, skin, and even some internal structures were intact. The miners were not looking for fossils, they were just doing their job when they hit something unusual. Another discovery happened when a boy playing in a riverbed found what he thought were interesting stones. They turned out to be dinosaur teeth. These chance encounters remind us that the past is all around us, sometimes just beneath the surface. You do not need to be an expert to find something important. You just need to be observant and lucky. The Earth still holds countless secrets, waiting for someone to look down at the right moment and notice something extraordinary lying at their feet. Fact 89. The first dinosaur fossils were mistaken for giant humans. Before the science of paleontology existed, people found large fossilized bones and tried to explain them using the knowledge they had. In 17th century England, when enormous bones were discovered, some people thought they must belong to giant humans. Stories from ancient texts spoke of giants who lived in earlier ages, and these bones seemed to confirm those tales. Other fossils were identified as belonging to elephants that had been brought to Britain by Roman armies. Some were simply dismissed as oddities, interesting but not important. It was not until the 19th century that scientists began to realize these bones represented something entirely different. They belonged to creatures that had lived long before humans existed, creatures that were unlike anything alive today. This realization was revolutionary. It meant the Earth was far older than most people believed. It meant there had been entire worlds of life that came and went before humans appeared. The discovery of dinosaurs changed how we understood history, time, and our place in the story of life. What started as confusion and misidentification eventually became one of the most important scientific discoveries ever made. Those early fossils, once thought to be giants or elephants, were actually our first glimpses into the age of dinosaurs. Fact 90. Ancient cultures. Sometimes thought. Dinosaur bones were dragon remains. Dragons appear in myths and legends from cultures all around the world. In Europe, dragons were fierce beasts that hoarded treasure and fought heroes. In China, dragons were wise and powerful creatures associated with water and the heavens. Where did these stories come from? Some scholars believe they were inspired, at least in part, by the discovery of dinosaur fossils. Imagine an ancient farmer digging in a field and uncovering a massive skull with long teeth and powerful jaws. Without any scientific framework to explain it, what would he think? It looked like a monster. It had to be a dragon. In China, large fossilized bones were called dragon bones and were ground into powder for use in traditional medicine. In Europe, fossil discoveries may have fueled stories about knights battling terrible beasts. These interpretations were not wrong in spirit. They were attempts to make sense of real physical evidence using the knowledge available at the time. The bones were real, the creatures they came from were real. We just call them by a different name now. Dragons were not pure fantasy. They were based on something tangible, something that once walked the earth. In a way, the legends were true. There really were enormous reptilian creatures with teeth and claws. We just know them as dinosaurs. Fact 91. Fossil hunters once fought wars over dinosaur bones. In the late 1800s, two wealthy American paleontologists, Edward Drinker Cope and Othniel Charles Marsh, became locked in one of the most bitter rivalries in scientific history. It became known as the Bone Wars. Each man was determined to discover more dinosaur species than the other. They hired teams of fossil hunters and sent them into the American West, where rich deposits of fossils were being uncovered. The competition became vicious. Teams sabotaged each other's dig sites. Fossils were destroyed to prevent rivals from studying them. Accusations of theft and fraud flew back and forth. Spies were planted in opposing camps. The two men spent fortunes trying to outdo each other, and their personal animosity destroyed their reputations and friendships. Despite the chaos, the Bone Wars resulted in tremendous scientific progress. Over 100 new dinosaur species were discovered and named during this period. Museums filled with spectacular skeletons. Public interest in dinosaurs soared. But the cost was high, both financially and personally. Many fossils were damaged or lost. Careers were ruined. The Bone Wars serve as a cautionary tale about how competition can drive progress, but also cause harm when it becomes too intense. The dinosaurs themselves were innocent victims, their remains fought over by ambitious men who cared more about winning than about science. Fact 92. The Bone Wars of the 1800s named over 100 new dinosaurs. Despite all the problems caused by the rivalry between Cope and Marsh, the scientific output was remarkable. During the peak years of the Bone Wars, these two men and their teams discovered, described, and named over 100 new species of dinosaurs. Many of the most famous dinosaurs we know today were first identified during this period. Triceratops, Stegosaurus, Allosaurus, Diplodocus, and many others were all named during the Bone Wars. The fossils collected filled museums and became the foundation for modern paleontology. Public exhibitions of dinosaur skeletons became popular attractions, sparking widespread fascination with prehistoric life. Without the Bone Wars, our knowledge of dinosaurs would be far less complete. The frantic pace of discovery meant that fossils were collected from regions that might otherwise have been ignored. The competition pushed both men to work harder and faster than they might have alone. So while the rivalry had many negative aspects, it also had positive results. Science advanced rapidly. New species were revealed. The age of dinosaurs became real to people in a way it never had been before. The legacy of the Bone Wars is complicated, a mixture of progress and problems, ambition and excess. Fact 93. Some Bone Wars dinosaurs later turned out to be fake. In their rush to claim credit for new discoveries, both Cope and Marsh sometimes made mistakes. Fossils were assembled incorrectly. Species were named based on incomplete remains. Some dinosaurs that were claimed to be new species turned out to be juveniles or variations of already known species. A few were outright errors, where bones from different animals were mixed together. One famous mistake involved mounting a dinosaur skeleton with the wrong head on it. Another involved naming the same dinosaur twice because it was found in different locations and looked slightly different. These errors had to be corrected later by other scientists who carefully re-examined the fossils. Some species names were retired. Skeletons were remounted correctly. The scientific record was cleaned up. These mistakes teach us important lessons about the need for careful, methodical work in science. Speed and competition can lead to progress, but they can also lead to errors. Taking time to verify findings and check work is essential. The bones themselves do not change, but our interpretation of them can be wrong if we are not careful. The Bone Wars produced great discoveries, but they also produced confusion that took decades to sort out. Fact 94. Fossilized soft tissue has been found inside dinosaur bones. For most of the history of paleontology, scientists assumed that only hard tissues like bones and teeth could survive the fossilization process. Soft tissues like muscles, blood vessels, and organs were thought to decay completely, leaving no trace. But in the early 2000s, a researcher named Mary Schweitzer made an astonishing discovery. Inside the fossilized bones of a Tyrannosaurus rex, she found what appeared to be preserved soft tissue. The structures looked like blood vessels, flexible and branching. Other samples showed what might be cells. These findings were controversial at first because they challenged everything scientists thought they knew about fossilization. How could soft tissue survive for 65 million years? Further research showed that under very specific conditions, proteins and other organic materials can be preserved for far longer than anyone believed possible. These discoveries do not mean we can clone dinosaurs, as in science fiction movies. The genetic material, DNA, is far too fragile to last that long. But proteins and other molecules can give us information about dinosaur biology that we never thought we could obtain. Imagine holding a piece of dinosaur bone and knowing that inside, at the microscopic level, there are traces of the actual living tissue that once made up that animal. It brings us closer to the dinosaurs than we have ever been before. Fact 95. Scientists have recovered dinosaur proteins, millions of years old. Along with soft tissue, scientists have identified ancient proteins preserved in dinosaur fossils. Proteins are large molecules that perform many functions in living organisms. Collagen, for example, is a protein that forms the structure of connective tissue. Finding collagen in dinosaur bones is remarkable because it shows that some biological molecules are far more durable than we thought. By analysing these ancient proteins, scientists can learn about the biochemistry of dinosaurs. They can compare dinosaur proteins to those of modern animals and see which species are most closely related. This research has confirmed that dinosaurs and birds share very similar proteins, providing more evidence for their evolutionary connection. It is like finding a molecular fingerprint that has survived across millions of years. These proteins are not complete. They are fragments, broken pieces of larger molecules. But even fragments contain information. They can tell us about growth rates, metabolism, and evolutionary relationships. Each discovery of ancient proteins opens new possibilities for research. It shows that fossils are not just stone. They are libraries of information, waiting to be read by scientists with the right tools and techniques. Fact 96. Some amber-preserved dinosaur feathers in perfect detail. Amber is fossilized tree resin, a sticky substance that once oozed from ancient trees. When small creatures or plant material got stuck in the resin, they were preserved as the resin hardened into a golden, translucent stone. Some pieces of amber from the Cretaceous period contain dinosaur feathers, preserved in perfect detail. These feathers are not attached to complete skeletons. They are fragments that broke off from living dinosaurs and got trapped in resin. But they show us details that cannot be seen in other fossils. The structure of individual barbs and barbules is visible. The colours, preserved through melanosomes, can sometimes be determined. Some pieces of amber even contain tiny feathered tails complete with vertebrae. Looking at amber is like looking through a window into the past. The feathers inside look almost fresh, as if they were plucked yesterday instead of millions of years ago. The preservation is so good that scientists can study the microscopic structure and compare it directly to modern bird feathers. These amber fossils give us the most detailed look at dinosaur feathers we can possibly get. They are treasures, tiny time capsules that bring the ancient world into sharp focus. Fact 97. Even dinosaur blood cells may have been discovered. In some of the most controversial and exciting fossil discoveries, researchers have found structures that appear to be red blood cells preserved inside dinosaur bones. These tiny disc-shaped forms look remarkably similar to the red blood cells found in modern reptiles and birds. If they really are blood cells, they represent the most intimate glimpse into dinosaur biology we have ever achieved. The discovery is debated because it seems almost impossible that cells could survive so long. Some scientists think the structures might be something else, perhaps mineral formations that happen to look like cells. Others believe they really are preserved cells, protected inside the dense bone where bacteria and decay could not reach them. More research is needed to settle the question. Even if they are confirmed as blood cells, we cannot extract DNA from them. DNA is far too fragile to survive millions of years. But just knowing that cells existed and left traces is profound. These were real animals with blood flowing through their veins, hearts beating in their chests, and a lives as vivid and complex as any animal alive today. The more we learn, the more real dinosaurs become to us. Fact 98. An asteroid strike. 66 million years ago ended the dinosaurs' reign. The story of the dinosaurs ends suddenly and dramatically. 66 million years ago, an enormous asteroid struck the Earth. The impact released more energy than billions of nuclear bombs. It created a crater over 100 miles wide. The effects were immediate and catastrophic. Shock waves circled the planet. Tsunamis hundreds of feet tall swept across coastlines. Fires ignited across continents. Rock and debris were blasted into the atmosphere, blocking out the sun. In the months and years that followed, temperatures dropped. Plants died without sunlight. Herbivores starved. Predators, having no prey, starved as well. Over 75% of all species on Earth went extinct. The non-avian dinosaurs, after ruling the planet for over 160 million years, disappeared. Only a small group of feathered theropods survived, eventually evolving into the birds we see today. The asteroid strike was not just the end of the dinosaurs, it was a reset button for life on Earth. The ecosystems that had existed for millions of years were destroyed. New ones had to build from the survivors. Mammals, which had lived in the shadows during the age of dinosaurs, now had their chance. They diversified and spread, eventually giving rise to humans. The extinction of the dinosaurs changed everything, opening the door for a new age of life. Fact 99. Birds are the only dinosaurs that survived. When the asteroid struck and the dust settled, almost all the dinosaurs were gone, but not all. A small group of feathered theropods survived the catastrophe. These were the ancestors of modern birds. Over millions of years they adapted and diversified, filling niches left empty by the extinction. Today there are over 10,000 species of birds, making them the most diverse group of land vertebrates. Every bird you see is a living dinosaur. When a robin sings in your yard, when a hawk soars overhead, when a penguin dives beneath Antarctic ice, you are watching dinosaurs. They carry the legacy of that ancient age in their bones, their feathers, and their behaviour. They nest, they brood their eggs, they form social groups, just as their ancestors did millions of years ago. The extinction was not total, it was a transformation. The age of giant dinosaurs ended, but the dinosaurs themselves did not disappear. They changed, they adapted, and they endured. In a very real sense, the age of dinosaurs never ended. It continues today, every time a bird takes flight. Fact 100. Every sparrow, eagle, and penguin is a living dinosaur. This final fact ties everything together. The sparrow hopping along the sidewalk, the eagle circling high in the mountains, the penguin waddling across ice. All are dinosaurs. They are not like dinosaurs. They are dinosaurs, descendants of the theropods that survived the extinction. Their bones are hollow, their bodies are covered in feathers, they lay eggs and care for their young. All of these traits come from their dinosaur ancestors. When you watch a bird, you're seeing evolution in action. You're watching a line of creatures that stretches back over 200 million years. You're witnessing the success story of adaptation and survival. The dinosaurs did not fail. They thrived so successfully that they are still here, living among us. Next time you see a bird, take a moment to really look at it. Notice the way it moves, quick and alert. See the structure of its feet, the same basic design as the feet of ancient raptors. Watch how it tilts its head to examine the world, just as a small theropod might have done in a Cretaceous forest. The past is not dead. It is alive, flying through our skies, singing in our trees, reminding us that life is resilient, adaptable, and full of wonder. The age of dinosaurs never truly ended. It just changed form and continues today in every bird that shares our world.